Season 2, Episode 9, I'm pretty sure. You'll notice someone is missing from today's episode, and that is Hillary. Hillary is unfortunately out with a migraine, so we're letting her rest today, and she'll be back in full force for next week. As a substitute, we have our guest host over here, Mo Davis, chiming in. Hello. And a very special guest this evening that we're looking very forward to speaking with, Aquillarae. So without further ado, let's get it poppin'. We're going to introduce Mo Davis because she's a guest host, and I believe she was a guest on season 1 for one of our episodes, and we have her back for another one, and then we're going to get into our main guest, Aquillarae, after that. So first of all, Mo Davis, why don't you let the listeners know a little bit about who you are?
Well, hello, everybody. As many of you probably can assume, we have a similar last name. I am Clinton's wife. I also have my own podcast with a few co-hosts called We Can Fight Like Cats If We Have to. And I'm also the founder of the Human Voice Foundation, an advocacy organization, nonprofit that advocates for human rights and anti-discrimination, especially in the case of racism.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that intro. And as listeners will find out later on in the episode, there's also a connection between Sally and our guest, Aquillarae. But without further ado, and I think I already said that earlier on in this episode, it's been one of those technical difficulty episodes, but we're getting through it, and I think knock on wood, I think we're going to be good this time, although I probably just jinxed it. Aquillarae, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you.
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for being a guest on our episode for the final week of Black History Month. It's always amazing to speak to different people from the Maritimes, New Brunswick, young people of all ages, people in different fields, just to get a little bit more of an understanding of what it's like to be Black out here in the Maritimes. So we are going to get into that. Aquillarae, I know you're a high school student, but I won't tell too much of your story. I'll let you tell the viewers who you are, what you've been up to, some of your experiences, and we will go from there. So, Aquillarae, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and who you are?
My name's Aquillarae Bustard. I was born and raised in to Bernice McNaughton. I live with my mom, my dad's mom. I have quite a few siblings. I'm not going to get into how many because there's like over 5. A lot of family members.
Okay, so you have a big family out here. Are most of your family members here in Moncton or in New Brunswick, or?
Most of them are. It's not.
Anyone like throughout like Nova Scotia or PEI, anywhere else?
No.
Okay, and you said your dad passed away recently.
Yeah.
Certainly very sorry to hear about that. Yeah, we might get into that a little bit later if you feel comfortable. If not, that's going to be completely up to you. But I mean, you were born in Moncton. Like where are your roots? Where are your parents from? If you don't mind us asking, are they both born in New Brunswick or?
My dad's from Jamaica, and my mom is born.
Born here?
Yeah.
Okay. So are you like me a little bit? Are you interracial? Are you half Black, half white? Are both your parents?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. Okay, that's amazing. I don't know if you mentioned, this is our second take of recording this. The first time it didn't go so well, but I don't know if you already mentioned this, but you said you went to Bernice McNaughton, right? What has that experience been like for you as a person of color at that school?
It started off good until I kind of started realizing things that started going on within the school, and which is why I started taking a stand to try to make change and talk to the principal. With, of course, Sally's help, who helped me and guided me through kind of figuring out what to say. So thank you on that.
Amazing. Yeah. Sally, do you have some questions?
I'm just wondering, like, did the realization or did the issues occur more in high school? Did they start before that?
I only had one issue when I was a kid, and that would probably be wanting out with me because I looked dirty, is what they said. And that was because of the color of my skin, which was like, as a kid, I didn't really understand that yet until I was like, whoa, that wasn't okay. But like, at that time, it's like your kids really have the proper understanding it, but you should still be taught it by your parents.
Yeah, yeah, kids definitely say all kinds of things, do all kinds of things. They can be mean
Yeah.
and cruel, and there's always bullies at every school. But you'd think in general there'd be a common. What age was this? You think there'd be a common sense that it's not okay to call someone else
I'd,
dirty because of the color of their skin?
I'd say I think it was around quite young.
I'm definitely
So
sorry to hear about that as well.
I'm
Those
sorry, and I'm not
experiences
surprised.
stick with you for a lifetime, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Um, what prompted you to go to the principal? Like, why did you decide what made you, so that happened in your childhood. What made you decide you had to start speaking out about things, racism?
So the year has been kind of difficult. I had friends who had called me the N-word that I am no longer friends with. And my number out to people who could call me that as well. And then I realized a lot also getting very comfortable with saying the N-word within songs or just making jokes or because they think it's funny and it's okay. Like it has some different meaning is what they said. And I have a younger sister who it's her first year in high school, and it's like, I want to help her to ever have to go through some of the things that I've been through. So it's like that really pushed to make that change, just to make a better environment for all of the new youth coming in.
Oh,
Wow, I'm sorry that it crossed the line even into friendship, because that is really hard when discrimination gets into friendship. And I imagine there must have been a conversation at some point where you said, this is not appropriate, and there must have been resistance, I would gather, because it led to the end of the friendship.
Yeah.
What was that like? What was your approach? How do you feel it was received when you tried to discuss it? And what is the general impression you are getting from the reaction people are giving you when you say, this is not okay?
It's really hard to speak up, honestly. I live in a place, and I notice every time I say something, I get called, oh, why can't you be chill about it? It's not that big of a deal. So it's like, it's really hard. All the time when I stand up for myself, I don't have many people who will have my back, because a lot of that big deal. Why are you making a big deal out of this? So it's like, it made me question growing up. I didn't want to say anything about it because I knew the responses I would get, so I wouldn't have to deal with it, or I wouldn't have other people perceiving me as so-called that black person out of it, and realize, you know what, if I'm not going to be happy this way, and I'm not going to be happy that way, take the road where I could possibly lead to me being happy in the end game.
wow. So who told you, like, why are you being this way? Who told you were overreacting? Was this in high school? I think you said it
Yeah,
was in your childhood as well, but was it your principal told you were overreacting?
it was actually students and friends and peers.
Okay, so they were shaming you for standing up for yourself and for having a problem with the way they were behaving towards you.
Yeah,
So you tried to
and
establish boundaries and they didn't want to respect that.
it was very much in a form of gaslighting. So it's like I would fall for it sometimes because it's like I wouldn't notice it. I'd be like, oh, well, maybe they're agreeing with them. Maybe it's just me. And then it's like, as I grew up, I realized I was like, no, it's not something seriously wrong with this.
Well, I want to say before Sally asks her next question that I mean, that's really brave of you, and that's really commendable, especially, standing up for yourself for one, but, knowing that a sibling of yours is entering high school and wanting her to have different experiences. That's really touching, and that makes you a really brave and strong person.
Thank you.
I can relate. I can relate to what you're saying. It really echoes, it really resonates, because as a parent, you see them going off to school and it's literally your fear. And I'm not biracial, but I am, I was the daughter of immigrants, and that you look dirty, pubic hair head, all the names you think of as a child come up, and it kind of gaslights you and prepare for this culture of being gaslit for a long term. So kudos to you for, making that choice to live authentically, essentially, and really bring it to the forefront, that anti-racism movement for yourself, but also for others. How do you feel the district, the administration, the teachers, like, how was their interaction in all of this? Do they witness these incidents when they occur? And when they do, what type of support do they provide? Have they been working with you through all of this? I know part of the answer, but I don't know all of it. So I'm interested to know.
I think the first time I really stood up for myself was because I didn't get the response I was expecting. It was more of, at first, he's a supply. Because I remember I was told in class, I didn't know who Usain Bolt was, like, into sports and watching them. And I remember he told me, he's like, how can you call yourself Jamaican? And to me, that was just, it was a red flag. I was like, or like, he'd ignore me and raise. Sometimes he'd answer, sometimes he wouldn't. And I was told by teachers, it's like, oh, we'll see him again, it's fine. And that really made me feel it's like a safe environment here if I can't get help with these issues. But when I went to my principal, it was complete, and he completely understood and actually brought it up to the district. And there has now been some supply.
And
Because
what
it
has
wasn't the
the
only
district
done.
and what was the district's involvement in all this, and what did the principal do?
And now if I'm not mistaken, I might not be 100% on this, but I'm pretty sure now when he teacher attend with him to make sure that he's not saying something that's out of line.
Do you feel they are being
Wow.
at least given some education in this aspect, or are they just policing the behavior of the teachers?
I feel like it's becoming policing for a while. It's like a lot of the right understandings, like even within just classes where they teach about racism. I remember as a kid, because you weren't learning the history, you weren't teaching them the history that you were learning was the students. So it's like you were put in this fish tank where it's like everything's about you, everyone about. They ask you questions about your experiences and never really teach you. So it's like teachers didn't really have that understanding, and it's like but I feel like ever since I've actually tried to make a stand and to make a change, they're also trying to make it. As I'm letting them know these things, it's like they're realizing it's not okay. Like, even I've noticed classes of Black history, it's not like that anymore. It's because I've talked to them, and it makes me so happy to actually see that something I've done is making a difference. Even my school, I hope that someday it will be more schools than just my school because singled out like that.
Absolutely. So can you go into a little bit more detail about, so did you say that this year for Black History Month that the content felt different than previous years? Is that what you were getting at?
Yeah, because last year I didn't do anything for Black History Month at our school, but within this year, since talking to them, we've had an exhibit that showed Black excellence and the history within it. We actually had Matthew give a presentation on what it's actually like and why you can't say certain way which helped a lot. And they're actually hoping to do a part 2 of it on how to fix. So it's like to see that people are actually trying to help me make this change. It's like for me, it's like it feels good to know that I'm not alone.
That's amazing, especially because you said you did you say Matthew Martin first of all?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, he's been on the show a bunch of times as well.
Yeah, I
That
talked to him about that actually.
oh, cool. Yeah, that must be a really warm feeling for you. I mean, you're a young person who has clearly been felt the call to get into activism work, and already in such a short time, like your bravery, your words, your stance, your speaking out, it feels like it's making change in your school. And we don't have the data on whether this is happening all across the board. And I know myself and Hillary, we've been working with the New Brunswick Education Department to help put more like Black curriculum, not just Black history, but joy and accomplishments and excellence, like you were saying, into the schools. And so it's just hearing you talk about the warm feeling you get, I think makes us all feel warm as well. Especially because you said that you said something that was really sad, and I think a lot of us can relate to that. But you felt that not a lot of people.
And we lost Clinton. That's okay, because I'm here to fill the drowned silence. You said a lot of incredibly important things. And I think that you really demonstrated an independent courage, because you really started this movement, I would say, pretty solo, if not with a small group of people, correct?
Yeah, it started out with to my step sibling's mom, and they brought the maybe I should speak up and that they'd always have my back for it. And then I told my mom, and she told me the exact, like, I had that. And then there was, of course, you, Sally, who honestly gave me, or had to have that confidence to be able to actually do that.
Amazing. Go ahead, Sally.
No, you were in the middle of a thought, Clinton, and I filled the void when you vanished.
I was just kind of talking. I was basically saying, like, I mean, you mentioned, well, I guess it's a talk show. You mentioned that you didn't feel like a lot of people had your back growing up, and I think you must mean in terms of coming to your aid, in terms of, maybe you mean a broader spectrum, but you mean in terms of coming to your aid in sort of racism or stuff like that. Even me, I'm a lot older than you, and even growing up in Toronto, which is a very multicultural city, I often felt, unheard or ununderstood and stuff like that. Man, my camera's not working very well today. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it always freezes at the worst possible frame. All in all, just to say that you probably didn't grow up around a lot of multicultural people.
I didn't. The only was my dad, and he lived in Toronto, so it was kind of hard to kind of get understanding. Like, my mom tried the best she could, and she did amazing at it, and trying to do everything. But I guess it's not the same. I never really got that relationship with other peers growing up, because it is very white based in Moncton, New Brunswick.
Yeah, and I mean that's another reason I wanted to. I mean, it's by coincidence because Hillary is suffering a migraine right now, which is horrible. But Sally's family is from North Africa, and I know that she grew up in Moncton as well in the French system as being the only one of her kind as well. Curly hair, speaking Arabic, sounding different, looking different, and she had a really rough run as well. So you two really share that in common. I can't say that I grew up in Moncton, but I've heard the horror stories. And for as bad as the things that happen nowadays in Moncton, I think it was a lot worse 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So you two share that kinship. And I guess you and Sally went to Bernice McNaughton to try to talk to the school to try to get like some anti-racism training because you were just fed up, and I'm sure you have other I get what you were saying. Like, your friends gaslight you. You're the only one that looks like you, so it's hard. And you're just like, oh, maybe I'm overreacting. Or you just want to fit in, right? Because we all just want to fit in. So you let it go. But then eventually you really start to realize, like, this is not okay. I've got siblings coming up. I don't want them to deal with this and question their own sanity as to whether or not this kind of stuff is okay. You just want change. So can you tell us about, like, how did that happen? Like, what you went to this, I don't know the details of, I know that it happened, but I don't know the details of how it started and how it happened. What
It started, I remember I was just sitting in class one day and felt really fed up with everything that was going on. I don't even know why, because there wasn't a reason that occurred to me that made me feel that way, but it's like just everything within my, it's like I was over it, and my sister had told me a few days before that someone's, so I made an appointment with the principal. I remember when I got called up, I was horrified. Like, I don't think words could explain. Like, I felt like I almost, it was scary, but it's like, as I started talking to him about it, it's like I got more, because I realized, and wasn't like, I wasn't nice about it. I'll be honest. I was very cutthroat and got to the point, because I'm not going to dance around the fact that going around at my school, if there was, it's like, it is what it is. It happens, and I'm not going to try to make people comfortable with it, because everyone is too comfortable.
Absolutely.
And nor should you tone police yourself. I think as racialized minorities, especially our children, are expected to tone police themselves. And I kind of wear the badge of angry brown woman quite proudly myself, because I've become so cutthroat over the years, and I can understand and relate to that. I really am appreciative that you were received with open arms. I hope that the administration has found and invested in a good anti-racism program, ideally presented by a racialized individual from a racialized organization. But do you feel that what they are doing is adequate? Do you feel like it's not just the voice of children? Because I remember one distinct conversation that I had with your principal was that this shouldn't be the job of young people and children. We made this mess, and so we should be actively engaging in fixing it. And unfortunately, we are putting children and young adults in the situation where they have to come forward. And instead of, having a normal 17, 18-year-old life of having to worry about your studies and your grades and your social life, you also have that other chapter of worrying how the professionals you are dealing with are going to treat you based on their misperceptions, misconceptions, assumptions, and quite frankly, our own fears, really. We like to, and it has to do a lot with that gaslighting, where individuals essentially gaslight, and it isn't intentional and it isn't malicious, and we're trying to be kind. So I like the fact that you mentioned that cutthroat part. We're trying to be kind in addressing with this, but at one point that kindness becomes us tone policing ourselves. And so I'm really proud of you of stepping forward and being like, no, I decided that I'm just going to be cutthroat about it. And what do you wish, if anybody from the district is listening today, if anybody from the school systems is listening, if any teachers from any school is listening today, anybody who works with children, what is really the best way that you can be supportive? What do you need from them? And what do you feel they could do differently?
I need them to just taking that time to educate all these students, and what, even if you don't want to teach it, there's some really great movies out there that explain it really well. I thought it was quite interesting. It really showed many different ways you can do to show people and give them that proper understanding of behind the word is, first off, and what actually happened, because a lot of these teenagers who are going off don't have that understanding. Like, they have a basic understanding to know why it's completely wrong. because I find myself having to educate more why it's not okay because they haven't got that education, and it's not fair because it's like a broken record. I have to keep repeating myself when I shouldn't have to, because this is something that adults should be. And it's like, it's the same thing as I used to tone police all the time because growing up, it's like I was horrified of adults and like assuming things about me. So I would try to be the most perfect person you could see, like fake, because it's like I always seemed happy, gleeful, like I could never do anything, I could never be sad, because I was even that way with parents, because it's like I had this huge fear assumptions would take over and they would just assume I'm black as that, because that's happened before. Like I had a friend and her dad was like, she seems like a bad, didn't even know me. So it's like that made me feel like I had to tone year. I was like, all right, I got to stop this because I'm not happy here now that I'm not doing it, because I realized, you know what, it's what they want, but it's like I need to learn to love myself and be happy with that. And if I'm, because I don't have to be friends with them. Yeah.
That's absolutely true. I haven't heard that term a lot, tone police. It sounds a little bit like, in some cases, similar to like code switching.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Where you,
It's
it
more than
depends on
that.
the context, right?
It's being forced to water down emotions and water down a reaction for the comfort of the people around you. And so when you are being tone policed, you are expected to basically hold back your reaction and even discredit your own, the problem you are a victim of, in order to just make everything more comfortable for your surrounding people. That's really the result of tone policing.
Okay, that makes sense. Like, so I mean, I know I'm half white, and Aquillarae, I know you're half white, but it also sounds like it's, tone policing is taking into consideration the fear of white fragility, the fear of how white people might react around you. And I mean, yeah, that's the code switching thing too. And I think everyone has this innate desire, but I know myself growing up, I do like to be nice. I like to be friendly. I like to make people smile. I like to brighten someone's day. But I've also realized through my life that for a lot of my life, I've felt a need to be extra, to be extra kind, to be extra polite, to be extra proper, for fear, which I didn't realize in my younger years, but for fear of someone applying their negative bias towards me, for fear of someone deciding I fit a certain stereotype, whereas someone with lighter skin could get away with not being so polite and given the same respect. I always felt like I had to be a certain way because if I wasn't, then I would be judged more harshly than others. And it's, when we do this show, it's just always interesting to connect with people of color who haven't really ever met each other, but have all had the exact same experiences. So like, that's really touching. And it seems like even at the age of 17, you've already learned about yourself that you don't have to be all those things. You can set boundaries, you can cut off friends, you don't have to compromise your happiness or your sense of peace or safety for that. That must be quite liberating. You've lost some friends, so my question is, like, have you made new friends? Have you found kinship in like other people? Have you felt like you've made activist friends, or are you building your own little group of people who speak out, or do you still feel like you're all on your own?
A lot of the time, I feel like I'm on my own. It's like I do realize my friends a lot of my friends will support me with it, but I don't know, which sucks. But
I get it. I can completely understand that.
It's rough. Well, you're still, obviously you're very brave, because you're coming on the shows here and you're still speaking your truth regardless of what people think. And that's going to benefit you a lot down the road. What do you see like for the future of kids like us, people of color, Black kids. What just fell on my head?
Clinton just got assaulted by a birthday decoration, I'm sure.
That
For
was
all of our
very
viewers
random.
watching.
Is that a sign from? Okay, I don't know. Yeah, so that's our kids' birthday decorations just fell on my head. Comedy moment for the viewers. So it's been a better year in terms of there's been some sensitivity training. There's been more Black history awareness. The teachers and the principals seem to be making an effort to be more mindful. Um, where do you see things going in the next few years? Do you think
I
things are going to?
see it being a healthy community for everyone, where they don't think of color as color. It's like everyone's the same, and you don't have to worry thing or acting differently around certain people. Like, you could just be students feel comfortable enough to be themselves without having that fear.
Yeah, that would certainly be a beautiful future. How many of, like, I don't know if you know a lot of kids from other high schools, but how many like people of color are in your school? Do you even know?
I have
Approximately.
no clue. Approximately, there's more this year, maybe 20, 25 maybe.
Wow, that's a lot less
Could
than
be
I
more.
assumed.
It could be
Okay.
more. I might be wrong. It's just a lot of the times that's hard for me to notice because speaking just black people wise, probably like 20, 25. But
Okay.
other color now than there was.
Okay,
What's the
yeah.
school population,
Probably
roughly?
like 900.
I have no clue.
Okay.
If I
Say that again.
if I knew, I'd let you know.
No worries.
We will update
Well,
the listeners later.
my daughter and Sally's stepdaughter actually went to Bernice McNaughton between 2013 to 2017, and so she's half Filipino, a quarter Black, and a quarter white, and her experience was that she says she didn't experience racism during the year she was there, but I don't know. I mean, I think I saw a little bit of racism at one point against an Asian gentleman when I was around some of her friends, and it was all in fun and gesture and this, that, or the other. But I mean, they're making fun of his eyes, I believe. And again, what I think was really happening, and I don't want to speak for my daughter, but possibly kind of what you described, right? You just want to. They say they're joking. They say they don't mean it. It's all in good fun. It's all in jest. But at the same time, it's kind of not. Um, I don't know, Sally, you went to school in Moncton in high school. You went to a few different high schools.
Went to one high school, but I went to every middle school and every elementary school.
Okay. Like,
I also spent half my high school in overseas, and that's why I only went to one high school in Moncton. There was only one French high school when I went to high school in Moncton. I would say that I've had the conversation with our daughter. And she's mentioned, when I look back at certain things now, I realize that they were racist. Whether it was, tone policing or a little joke or a different treatment. This is where the term microaggression comes from. It's when people do something very subtle that makes the person in front of them, feel obligated to tone police themselves, but inside is feeling suffering of some sort, whether it's embarrassment or fear or shame or pain. And I think I've experienced I've experienced very low on the scale, which is, the microaggressions, to very high on the scale, which was the racialized violence and assaults. And I think it's really interesting to me when you point out, at one point you even talked about, when they belittle you, it's not that bad. I'm sure we hear the other examples of so-and-so's got it bad too because they're poor,
Yeah.
so-and-so. And it's kind of almost like let's one up each other to see who's suffering the most, when really we're missing the boat entirely. The goal here is not to see who's got the most suffering going on and we celebrate the winner, because there's really no winning in this situation. I think it's really more about minimizing the suffering universally, and it's just generally understanding each other. And I think if I'm understanding correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Aquillarae, my understanding of your goal is that you just want a general understanding and normalcy to just make the environment generally comfortable, not just for yourself, but for everybody. And yourself, but most importantly, yourself and people like you included.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you're trying to bring the conversation, is that, yes, it's important for everyone to feel comfortable, but it is important for me to feel comfortable too. And anybody who looks like me, who speaks like me, who sounds like me, who moves like me, whatever it is treated, with basic dignity and respect and no suffering.
Yeah.
And is that kind of what the goal is?
Yeah, that's the goal.
I'm kind of paraphrasing what you've said. I hope you don't mind.
Yeah. No, it's all good.
What to you is going to be the moment where you're going to be like, okay, I've checkmarked my goal. I've accomplished what I'm trying to do, what I've set out to do out there?
When I start seeing white people stop saying basically, when they start speaking up when they hear it. When racist jokes, okay, and other people speak up for it, and it's not just, oh, look, it's fine. When people actually start realizing and standing up for it, not only stand up for it, but even white people who see it and notice it also start speaking up.
That's really well said. I mean, that's the goal, because like you said earlier, it's not your job to educate white teachers and white principals on how not to be racist. It's their job. It's their job to teach you guys how to not do that. And, it's not your job. It's not my job. It's not Sally's job to fix a problem here in this country.
Correction.
None of us were responsible
I teach it for a living. Minor correction.
Right. But because you have to, right? It shouldn't be your job. It shouldn't be anyone's job to teach adults how to treat each other equitable. When do you graduate, Aquillarae?
In 2024.
Okay. You were talking to Matthew Martin. Did he encourage you to get into activism or anything, or works? And were you responsible for him coming? Go ahead.
I'm coming, yes, because I told the school, I was like, it was my idea to actually have someone come and speak originally, but there was a lot going on with that, and there was trouble apparently. So, and they let me wear a week before. So they gave me notice. So I wanted a guest speaker to come in, because having just the teachers was not enough for me. I needed the students to also have that understanding.
Were there any conversations that took place among the students? Were there any insights, change of thought, change of mind? Has anyone ever apologized to you for anything?
No one's apologized. Like I haven't had someone come up. Like, I've had people now that are more conscious with what they say. Is that something they say is slightly wrong? They'll like backtrack and apologize that way, but not like and apologize for the past. But it's a start.
So that's something. Yeah, exactly. My gosh, I've never had a worse camera episode ever. I think I'm frozen.
It's frozen beautifully right now.
I think I look drunk. Okay. Before I plug out my camera again, and feel free to laugh at my screenshot here. This is how I look late at night. No. You don't need to have this in your plans, but are you inspired or motivated to get into this kind of work, or is this just something you're doing for high school because you want? Oh yeah,
100%. I actually talked to Matthew Martin, and I was asked to become a part of what he does, because I'm so fascinated. And it's like, I want to be someone who does that. It's like they inspire me. People like what you guys does, it like inspires me. And it's like, I want to be like that. I want to help make that change.
Well, can I tell you something?
Yeah.
You're already doing it.
Yeah, I was gonna say too late.
You're definitely a change maker, Aquillarae, and you've got an early start. And whatever you choose to do, whether it's this work or something else, like I said at the very beginning, you're clearly very brave, very outspoken. It takes a certain kind of person to look around them and see that things aren't right and actually say something, because it's so much easier to just try to fit in with the mold.
Yeah.
So from now on, maybe don't say that you want to do this. Maybe say that you want to continue doing this, right? Because you are doing it. You have made change. You've used your voice. You have approached adults and said, look, what's happening here doesn't feel right, and it's not right. And I don't want younger kids who aren't even at this school yet to come here and experience the kind of feelings that I have.
Yeah.
So you're certainly a change maker, Aquillarae, and I hope you get involved with, Black Lives Matter New Brunswick. We'd love to have you more involved. I'm sure you're very busy, but if there's any way you want to contribute to or be involved with what we're doing here, we would love to hear your voice. Although, for the listeners, I hope it's not too choppy. I've been able to understand everything you're saying, but the audio is a bit choppy. You have a strong voice, and I really hope you continue to use it. Is there any? Oh, absolutely. What kind of thoughts do you want to leave our listeners with? You are certainly the youngest guest we've ever had on the show, which is incredible, because you're the future. I hear a lot of people say a lot of negative things about kids these days, and I think anyone who says anything negative about kids could not be more wrong. Kids, while they might not have as many life skills or experiences or context, you guys have access. And I'm sorry, when I say kid, I mean a young adult. Like you're not a kid. Okay, I just hope you don't take that the wrong way. You just have access to the whole world at your fingertips at all times, and for the good and for the bad, you're exposed to the whole world at a very young age. Whereas older people, we didn't get that access to information like you do. So you guys just know so much, and I really, when I talk to people like you, I'm really hopeful for the future, and that's exactly why I do what I want to do. I want to make a better world for the people that come after me. We could probably talk to you for another hour, but we try to keep these episodes like 45, 50 minutes. And we hope that the people get to hear from you and see you more in the future. Well, we know they will. We hope that they get to hear from you and see you more here. What kind of message do you want to put out there to anyone who may be listening?
That you're never too young to start making. Whether you are in middle school, pre-K, high school, you're never too young. It's never too late to start making change. The change you just have to want to make it.
Very, very inspiring words. Very well said. Well, like I always say to anyone who's gotten through to the end of the episode, you're a real trooper. Thank you for listening in. We definitely have our core group of weekly listeners that we're super appreciative. Usually we ask where people can find our guests if they want to get in touch. But I don't think you maintain like a page or an activist page or anything like that yet, but possibly with your friends, that's something that might be down the road. Sally, do you want to? Oh, go ahead. Yeah, please go ahead.
Whoever needs to get a hold of me, you can open.
Say that again.
You can always put my Instagram if someone needs to get a hold of me.
Okay, absolutely. You can plug it yourself if you like.
I cannot for the life of me, but.
Okay. Well,
maybe we can plug it in the comments.
We'll tag you. We'll tag you on the post.
While Clinton has another beautiful frozen face.
It's better than the last one. And this is, most of our listeners listening to the audio, thankfully, thank God. but we're trying to build our YouTube, and this is not helping. But Sally, where can people like find you? Like, we'd like one day we'll hopefully get your podcast and such on our pages as well. But where can people listen to your podcast or get involved with what you're doing?
Well, we have another podcast coming out calling the Tribeless Outcast. That should be releasing soon. But for We Can Fight Like Cats If We Have To, you can find us on all podcast streaming services, as well as we do have a Facebook page, and we also have a Facebook page for the Human Voice Foundation as well. So if you or someone you know would like to learn about anti-racism, would be interested in courses, would be interested in support, have been a victim of, you can reach out to us that way. Or if you want to work with us, like we have opportunities as well in there. So yeah, you can reach out to us any way you like on any of the social media platforms.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And Hillary usually does this closing part better than me, but I'm going to try my best. I hope everyone has had a good Black History Month. There's certainly been a lot of content put out among a lot of different organizations throughout the Maritimes here, ourselves as well. We've been on CBC a number of times, did something with Rogers TV. Depending on when this airs tomorrow, if anyone's listening to this Thursday afternoon on the 23rd, I'm doing a talk with Prude Incorporated tonight on best practices for people of color in business. But yeah, Hillary, we miss you. Get better, feel better. We'll see you again next week. But you can find Hillary at Cropberry. Myself, I'm Clinton Davis. And you can listen to Blacklantic on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple, and all the other good ones, on YouTube and stuff like that. For the first week ever, we've got our QR code up here. If you want to support the work that we're doing, go to our GoFundMe page to help check us out. Your donations have helped get things like cameras and the streaming service, our website, as well as a number of other initiatives. We've been able to pay some of our bloggers, which has been really amazing. What am I forgetting? I'm probably forgetting a bunch of stuff. Check us out at blacklantic.ca, where this episode will be. And yeah, I'm forgetting a really big thing, but that is okay. I'll probably just play the outro. Definitely forgetting something, but most important thing is Blacklantic. And once again, this is Aquillarae, a 17-year-old change-making activist from Moncton, New Brunswick, who has a very bright future, and we just can't wait to see like the things she's going to continue to do when she gets out of, while she's in high school and when she gets out of high school. What you've already done in the past year is incredible. We commend you. We applaud you. And you have made a change. Like the fact that you have teachers and principals and even students around you being more cautious of the way they speak. It's all about a trickle effect, right? Anything you do to move the bar towards equality as opposed to away from it is making change. So congratulations on that. Thank you so much for being a guest on our show. And it is our hope that the listeners and viewers and readers hear more from you in the future. So from all of us,
Thank you.
have a good night.
Good night.
Take care. Bye, Aquillarae.